Yes. Welcome to episode number 3, Between the Lanes. On behalf of the crew, Tony Prepster here, Tony Jones. We have Coach P and Jeff Bryan, Coach Jeff Bryan. We got a very special guest with us, known as B-Side. You guys know who his alias is, but he is Bob Jelks. Bobby Jelks, the Illinois all-time great. He's one of the best to ever do it out of Illinois, Decatur, Illinois, Decatur MacArthur High School, that is, Decatur, Illinois. He was once the Illinois all-time record holder in the 200-meter dash. Legal win, by the way. Back in 1986, he went on to have a glorious career at University of Nebraska. B-Side, say hello to the family.
What's up, family?
All right. Coach P, Coach Jeff, you guys like to go ahead and take it away from here?
Right. Let's start with the easy stuff first.
Okay.
So we kind of ease our way into this. Obviously, we know you as a former state record holder, Decatur MacArthur, as Tony mentioned. But before that, kind of give us an idea how you first became involved in the sport of track and field.
Basically, man, just neighborhood races. They used to have local track meets at my high school, and every Thursday at MacArthur, the local track club was called the Staley Striders, and they had local meets every Thursday. And my dad took me to the meet, and with no experience, I blew everybody out. So a couple days later, the coach comes by my house. I was only 7, and the coach comes by my house and talks to my parents and invited me to join the team. And from there, that was it. Just kept rolling.
Right. So I need to know now, was those races, were they betting on you all like little horses back in the day? Kentucky
No,
Derby?
I wasn't no betting. It didn't get to that point, but I mean, once I got to high school, it was like that.
That ain't real racing if you ain't betting on the kids in the street.
Yeah, it was like that in high school.
Right. Yeah. Let's jump to high school.
Hold up. Before we
go ahead.
Before we get to high school, B, you I know you were you played other sports along the way. I think you guys went to the Little League or some kind of National World Series as baseball.
Yeah, we won nationals twice, and actually tried to get in the Little League World Series. We wrote a letter and tried to petition to get in, and they wouldn't let us in. So we were like, man, we'll beat the brakes off Taiwan. But it was it's not gonna be a problem. Plus, we play different sets of rules. They can't steal bases, we steal bases. We were like, we'll play under your rules. It's not a problem.
Wait, hold up.
Yeah.
You tried to get into the Little League World Series. Your club wasn't affiliated with the Little League World Series.
It's a different league. We're in the Corey League. So we had our own.
That's not Little League.
So we keep watching them every year. Matter of fact, the year that we petitioned, it was a team from Florida, an all-black team from Florida actually beat them. And that's the year that we tried to get in. And we were like, man, we'll beat the brakes off of these kids. It's not a problem. But we couldn't get in simply because we weren't in the league, even though we said we would play by their rules.
Interesting.
Now I played some basketball too. I played basketball all the way to my sophomore year. And then I figured it out. I'm like, okay, if you're not one of their guys, you ain't going to be playing. So I'm like, why should I sit? I don't sit nobody's bench. That's not going to happen. So it's like, why sit on the bench when I can be the number 1 man in the state in track? I'm wasting my time.
Right. Now with the Striders, obviously you came into high school with some track experience, which as coaches, we definitely like that when you know what you're doing prior to when you get there. What was the connection between the club coach, and we'll get into this a little bit later. Remember, we're just warming up here. What was the connection between your club coach and your first year at MacArthur? What was that transition like?
Well, it was easy because basically what happened was the club coach was the high school coach. So he
illegal. Sorry.
I'm just telling you how it is. So it was basically set up. It was a setup. You know, you couldn't figure it out when you were a little kid. But as I got older, went off to college and realized, I'm like, basically the club team was the minor leagues for high school. So what was going on is, if you've been on that club team all those years as a kid, you're not going to want to go to the other 3 high schools that we had. Well, 4 if you count the private school. You didn't want to go there. Actually, my parents had found a house when we moved from the West End. We were going to move, and the house that they wanted was in Stephen Decatur's district.
Mm-hmm.
And I told them, you're not going to have me out here losing. I mean, they were pathetic. I'm like, you're not going to have me out here losing. I'll tell you how this is going to go. I'll see y'all in the summer. I'm going to live with grandma. I'll just rotate between both grandma's houses, and I'll see y'all in the summer. I'm not losing. And then we ended up moving into another neighborhood, which was MacArthur District.
Right.
I got a question. So when you first started off running around 7 years old, what events were you open to run all events, or did you just know from day one you were going to be a sprinter?
I knew day one I was going to be a sprinter.
So what's the longest event you've ever ran?
4.
Nothing? No 8 ever?
400. The 8. That's your job.
I ask because when you're at such a young age, kids will experiment around.
There's no experimenting back in the day, man. If you fast, you fast. It wasn't like that, man.
All
I
right.
mean, by age 10, I had gotten 3rd in the country in the Hershey meet, which at that time you had to be like recognized. You had to be like voted in to go. You couldn't just go to Hershey's. So, and it was like 6 or 7 states. So you had to be picked out of all the sprinters to go represent at nationals. And I got 3rd. You couldn't even wear spikes or use block. You had to wear tennis shoes.
Oh, wow.
You know, they just got rid of that meet 3 years ago.
Yeah, it was in Marshall. I think it was at Marshall in West Virginia. The year that we went.
Yeah, they just got rid of that 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Was Coach Bill Hardbeck the coach? You said your high school coach.
Yeah.
Coach. Okay. For
Yep.
those who don't know, Coach Bill Hardbeck, I know there's been some contentious relationships, and we might jump into that at some point, if you want. But Coach Bill Hardbeck, longtime coach, legendary coach in Decatur, whether you agree with it or not, who produced, known as a triple jump coach to many people who know the history of triple jump, produced many triple jump coaches. So what was the relationship like as a youth, not high school, as a youth coach?
Well, you got to realize, man, as y'all know, things were different back in the day. Back in the day, you had a lot of fathers. I mean, I think the only one that's still alive that was there is my own father. We would have 6, 7, 8 fathers at track practice. We used to have 2 track practices. We'd have one 9 to 11 and 6 to 8. And the fathers would be there. It wasn't Coach Hardbeck that taught me what to do. It was my own father. He's the one that taught me how to come out the blocks. He's the one that taught me about the drive phase and all of that. So it was kids that you grew up with in the neighborhood. It was their fathers that were there, and you definitely ain't gonna see that now.
Nope, not at all. So you made that transition from club track or elementary track. I'm not sure what the Decatur elementary school setup was as far as athletics, but now you're in high school. What was the biggest transition for you from that 8th grade summer track, I assume, to that freshman year of high school?
There was no transition. It was easy because it wasn't just me. All the guys in junior high. Let me say, I'll be straight up with you. My future teammates in high school got in trouble one time because they skipped a practice to walk a couple of miles to watch our junior high meet. What my guys were doing equaled or surpassed what the high school kids were doing. So you're talking about a crew that the guys that were on my 86 team that lost by a point, we would walk around the school in junior high with what they called the timely times. That's how you used to find out where you were ranked. So we're in junior high, and our whole goal was to knock off high school kids that were in the rankings. That was our competition. There was no junior high state. So if you were like city champ, that was like the greatest thing ever. So there was no transition. We came straight in And I already knew only one guy could beat me in high school, and he was a senior, and he beat me by like a half a step at conference when I was a freshman. So there was no transition. I think I ran one Fresh South meet my whole freshman and sophomore year, and that was city.
Friday, you mentioned 1986. Actually, before we get to 1986, I want to know what's up with from 1982 to 83 to 85. I just see
Okay.
you. I just see you down at the state meet, man. Maybe you was there, but you weren't all state.
No.
What happened those first 3 years?
The freshman year I made it to state. I was third leg on the 4x1, and I handed off to Al Lawson. Al was like unreal. Al was that dude that was in junior high that was about like 6'2", 6'3", beard and mustache. He won Hershey's by in the 100. He won it by over 20 meters. Easy. I mean, he had to walk around with a birth certificate everywhere we went because no one believed him. So that was my first year. My sophomore year, I was injured. I got hurt right before the conference meet. The junior year was a jacked up year. That was the kickoff. The junior year, I was in marching band because I played saxophone. Well, I don't now, but I used to. And I had a teacher who hated athletes. Okay, and I took a course that was an English course that was a college course, and I was the only brother in the class. But English was my favorite subject, so I took it. All while marching band was going on, no one was ineligible. As soon as marching band was over with, you saw me and everybody in the class that was in marching band, we were ineligible. So I was ineligible the whole junior year. That's why you didn't see me. So I was like a hateful dude. I mean, I walked around school. That's when the gangs were really bad. I walked around the school with a knife in my bag. I should have been kicked out of school. I wasn't. I actually pulled a knife on a kid. It was bad. I didn't even speak to my parents for like the whole year. I think maybe 30 words, 40 words out of a whole year. All I would do was go to school, come home, and play basketball in my backyard. I wouldn't talk to anybody. So what kicked it off after that was in that summer, if you remember, there was the Prairie State Games.
Yeah, I remember.
And the Prairie State Games were at the U of I. And so I got in shape for that. And I went there and made it to the finals. And all the people besides Aaron Mayo was in the final. Aaron Mayo was there, but he sat in the stands. And I had a little injury, but it wasn't enough to stop what was going to happen. So all the guys that were in the finals that year, besides Aaron Mayo, they got whooped. That was my springboard into 86. From that Prairie State Games going into my senior year, that was the springboard. Then once 86 came, it was a wrap.
All right, yeah, we'll get into 86 later because that was one of the best years ever in Illinois history. Actually, I actually know a little bit about that year.
Yeah.
Actually, let me ask this before we jump into 86. I actually planned on bringing up 86, but Tony Jones sounded like he's trying to overrule me. You mentioned Decatur. For our viewers and listeners out there who may not be familiar with the state of Illinois and the city of Decatur, I think you mentioned you walked around with some weapons in your little book bag and stuff like that.
You had to.
Right. And we do have pockets across the state of Illinois, where, it's just not roses and green grass and stuff like that.
Right.
There's some difficult places to live, and you have to be an athlete and live in those environments. So what was the biggest challenge for you? Being an athlete, living in a tough neighborhood and things like that.
Probably the toughest thing. I didn't like school. I hate school. I like everything that goes with school. The women, the games. I like what goes with school. Actually, like studying. At the end, my senior year, I had taken all my rough classes and gotten them out the way. So my senior year, I had like record keeping. I was in band. I had 2 art classes back to back and PE. I had gotten rid of all this stuff. I could have graduated early. I only stayed because of track, but I could have graduated early in high school. But my toughest challenge was, staying focused. But my parents wasn't hearing it, man. Well, they had the tough house rules. My mom was not hearing it. I mean, dad was usually at work at the factory and stuff, working 12-hour shifts and whatnot. But my mom, she was like, if you messed up, you were like messed up until the next report card. They used to send them little notes home, the little good news notes, B is doing a lot better in class. He's more focused. My mom's like, no, you should have been focused from the jump. So you were ruined. You can't touch the phone. There wasn't no cell phones then. You had a phone in the living room and maybe one in the family room, and that's it. So you're using their phone. So they're like, nope, you can't touch my phone. Don't ask for the car, nothing. So we had those tough rules. So I made sure my grades was tight, but that was probably my toughest challenge. It wasn't even from the streets or nothing, because at that time, if you were basically a good athlete, you were like, they would leave you alone. They were like, no, leave him alone. He got a chance. So I didn't really have those issues, but you had to be prepared for whatever was gonna come from the streets, because you had haters too. They're gonna come at you because a lot of them don't want to see you make it, because they're like, oh, he getting ready to make it, he gonna skate, so let's pull him back down to the bottom of the bucket.
Right.
I know moving into your senior year, actually learned about you when I was growing up in Indiana, coming up in Indiana. A good friend of mine was his dad used to take him to the Illinois State meet. It's from Danville, Illinois. And he used to go to the state meet every year. And I remember him coming back with the meet program. I actually stole it from him. I still have it somewhere. And he kept talking about all these guys from man, you got the Illinois State meet. This guy, he was naming all these guys, and one guy, he says, this guy named Jelks. Man, he blew everybody off the track. And I was like, Jelks. First of all, I started laughing. I was like, what kind of name is Jelks?
Right.
it was. I mean, he like told the whole neighborhood, man, and it was like one of the best state meets at that time. Then, so I basically knew what you did. I'm gonna let you explain your state that senior year yourself, but I just wanted to set up how your name resonated across the state border into Indiana. Your name resonated. So, you want to take us through, because I know you ran against Chicago, and I read an article in the Chicago Tribune said some kind things about you at the time as well.
My senior year, that was a lot of fun. Actually, I've said it for years. That was the best team that I was on, including college. Because when you go to college, it's basically like a business, but high school, those are the guys you grew up with. And so there's a lot of camaraderie. So that was a lot of fun. We used to go to the meets. It was like we were rock stars. I mean, most of our meets were at Champaign Centennial. And so, I mean, we would come every weekend and just blow people away. Even the weekend that most of the guys were taking the ACT test, we had like half a team, and we still would win the meets. And so, I mean, it was like we were at rock star status. And then when it got towards the week of state, why we do this, I don't know. A lot of people do it. A lot of cities do it. We had the honor roll meet, which was the week of state, and it was on a Tuesday.
I hate that.
And we had the meet at Stephen Decatur, which basically is their track is basically a street with paint on it. I mean, that's basically what it looks like. And it hasn't even been fixed. It still looks like that right now. If I took you guys there now, that's the exact same track that messed me up. I ran on the track. Next morning, got up, had tendonitis. I didn't know what it was. My mom came in, woke me up to go to school, and I couldn't move. I couldn't walk.
Why did coach let you run that?
Yeah, you beat me to it.
Go ahead,
Because
Jeff.
Not to bash your coach, but the week of state.
the week of state.
So on a garbage track and
Garbage.
to just be running in general. Did you and the team have some words with him before or after that?
No, because the thing was with the honor roll meet, see, the smaller schools, or what we would call them, the farm boys, that was their opportunity to scrap with the city boys. So the mentality was, we got to break them in half. Okay, but most of the guys that was your competition were at rival high schools. That's where the times have changed, with the eras have changed, where being the city champ meant something, and there was pure hate. Like, if you even hollered at a girl that went to one of the rival high schools, your school would like snap on you. You know, it would be like, what? So we ain't got enough fine women here? You got to go across town. You know, I mean, it was that serious, man.
I agree with that. I went to a high school that had the same. Yep.
And so it was like, we have to beat the crosstown rivals. So after it was over with, you know, I'm thinking, you know, we getting ready to go to state. We were getting a lot of interviews. The Chicago Tribune, they were hyping us up. And that's when we knew we were big time then. We were like, we're Central Illinois, but the Tribune was writing about us saying we're the team to watch. So I get up that next morning, I can't walk. I limp to school. My mom took me to school, and we go to the doctor after school. We find out that, you know, I've got tendonitis, but I've got a real bad case of it. And it was in my knee. I couldn't push off the blocks. So for the rest of the week, from that Wednesday and Thursday, I think I saw like 2 or 3 doctors in 2 or 3 different cities. One was in Springfield, one was in Bloomington. I didn't go to class. I went to school, but they pulled me out of my classes, and all I did was go down to the training room and ice for the whole day. That's all I did. They'd have the trainer in there icing my knee. They froze the ice cups, and they would ice my knee the whole day. So when we got to state, we had no idea that, first, we didn't know how the Chicago Tribune found out I was hurt. You know, we had went to sectionals. We were number 1 in the state in the 4x1. We had went like 41. We went 41-7. We were number 1 in the 4x2. I was number 1 in the state. In the 1 and the 2, I went 10-2 and 20.8.
Hold up.
This is in pouring rain now. This ain't
Hold up. You guys won the 4x2. Explain what happened.
We didn't find out really what was going on until like years afterwards. We had been coming to Centennial winning so many meets that people got tired of us winning. So there was like a conspiracy of coaches. I'm not going to throw the school's names out there. They know who they are. If they watch this, they'll know who they are. If they're not dead, they'll know who they are. But they had called my coach, Coach Harback, and told him that anything that we did wrong, that they were going to disqualify us. So we ran the 4x1, the same order, the same 4 guys, the same uniforms. I always wore like tights under my shorts because, you know, back in the day, it wasn't long shorts. You had them little John Stockton shorts, and we not sports. So we're not sports. I mean, you can't be from the hood wearing John Stockton shorts. So I had my own style with the tights. So I would have my wristbands on my elbow and the tights, and my boys. So they wouldn't wear the tights. So we would wear boxer shorts. So the boxer shorts were longer. As you pull them down, now it looks like the shorts that you see today. So we had the same order, the same 4 guys. We win the 4x1, nothing said. The 4x2 comes up, same 4 guys, same order. My third leg, Elliot, who ran the hurdles, he comes up to me right before the race. He's like, man, B, they used to call me the villain. He said, Vil, I got a bad feeling about this. I said, what? He said, man, I got a feeling they're going to try to get us out the race rather. So he goes behind the bleachers
on the visitor side, a Centennial, takes his boxers off, and free balls it, going down the track and hands me the baton, and we run the #1 time in the state. Right before, when the mile was going on, they start announcing who had advanced the state in the 4x2. And they went through the list, and I'm standing there next to my father, and we're waiting to hear MacArthur's going to state with the #1 time. And I don't even remember who got second, but they moved him up, and then the guy says, Decatur MacArthur has been disqualified. So they're running a mile coming down the straightaway. I literally went nuts. So I had my spikes in my hand. I threw my spikes. It landed like right next to or hit one of the guys in the mile. I mean, I went nuts. I went nuts, man. He was trying to calm me down. I'm like, get away from me. Don't talk to me. Excuse me. And so we go over to the 200, and I say out loud to everybody there after we check in, I'm like, all I want y'all to do is just try to keep up with me. Just try to keep up with me. I'm like, the worst thing that could have happened to everybody in this final is that we just got disqualified. Y'all done. So it's pouring rain. We're running 200. When I come across the line, it says 20.8. When I'm not exaggerating this. When I turned around, they were still running. And I kid you not, if you were to look it up, you will see, I've never seen it since. I doubt if it ever happens again. Everyone in that final qualified for state in the 200. Okay? And understand, the qualifying time was 21.7 to go to state. So that means if the last place dude ran 21.7. So we get to state. We have no idea whether I can run. I haven't practiced. I haven't stretched. I haven't done anything. And somehow the Chicago Tribune found out that I was a cripple. To this moment, I don't know how they found out. We warm up for the relay. I really don't do too much. I stretch a little bit, and my teammate brings the baton around, and I'm just like, I'm running. If my leg breaks, it's going to break on this state track meet. It's just going to have to break. And we ended up qualifying for the finals. I mean, we got 4th. We had a bad handoff in the final. We ended up getting 4th. We still ran 41 something, but it was a bad handoff. I couldn't push off in the blocks at all in the 100. I could get away with it in the 2, but I couldn't get away with it in the 100. So that's how it was. Matter of fact, honestly, we were still winning the meet until the last event. I think, who was it? North Chicago. North Chicago had to get last in the 4x4, and they were in last until the last 75 meters of the race, and they got next to last and ended up sneaking us by a point. But most people don't even. It's crazy. We got second, but no one ever talks about North Chicago. We get the credit for being the champs, so that's fine. They just holding our trophy.
Oh, they hold. Go get it then. We know where Alan Turner's at. Alan Turner was on anchor that 4x4, by the way.
It was him.
Former coach of Notre Dame. Yeah.
2 years ago at the Top Times meet, I hadn't seen him since, and he was recruiting one of my sprinters, and I saw him, and that's the first time. I wouldn't even say his name. You know, he introduced me to his wife, and I'm like, "What's up?" And, you know, I wouldn't even say his name. You know, we joke about it, and his wife had heard the story, so he's like, "This is the guy I was telling you about." You know, so me and him are cool, but it's just every time I think about it, it hurts.
Yeah, 1 point. That's how it was in basketball. I remember losing a game by 1 point. I was like, "Ooh, that was terrible. I'd rather you blow me out by 50.
Yeah,
they beat me at the buzzer or something." So
right.
That had to.
Yeah, that hurt, man.
Yeah, that was an interesting meet too. Keith Thomas actually set the state record that lasted 22 years in the 100. And of course, you set the state record of the 200 at the time, 21-27. After all those rounds that we're going to get into a little bit later as well. So it sounds like 86 was the pinnacle of your athletic career, at least in high school.
Yes,
A
sir.
lot of stuff was going on during that era.
Yeah.
What Hoya Paranoia? I know you're a big Georgetown fan. That happened.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah,
All right.
That's what happened. That's what happened with the knife pulling. I lost the money.
Oh man.
I mean, you laughing, but real talk. If the shirt before we got to state, I always had Georgetown basketball shirts on at the track meet. It would have like on the back of it, it would have like the Mr. 100, 200 meters, but the front would say Georgetown basketball. I mean, that's how serious I was, and this dude kept talking stuff at school, and I'm like, dude, you might want to step off, because there's no way. I just watched the game the other day at work, and I got pissed off all over again watching it, and they lost to Villanova, and I lost my mind. This dude was talking, and before he could say his name, we were in PE, and I was on the ground grabbing my books and my book bag and stuff, and he was standing behind me talking. I'm like, what happened to your boys? What happened to your boys? What happened to Ewing? And before I knew it, man, I had him pinned up against the locker, knife on neck. I'm like, I lost it, man. That was my squad.
All right.
Right.
I got
Hold
a
on, I'm not
question for you.
done, Jeff. Hold on, a couple more
Whoa!
things.
You got way too many
No,
questions. No,
this
stop. You asked
No.
like 5 questions in a row.
He
Stop.
jumped in.
Hey.
I said Hoya Paranoia.
I had to. He know that's my squad.
I know that's his school. I meant to say
Fall
that
back.
last. But
Fall
I
back.
always want to bring up that the Bears won Super Bowl, Phi Sigma Jamma.
We don't need
And
a
then,
lesson
yes,
right now.
we
We're talking
do.
about track.
And then Cal versus Stanford, the band is out on the field. Those are some good things.
Those are
So
good things.
be cool. Come on, go ahead,
But
Jeff.
After you were born in '86, you trying to.
Oh yeah, I was born too, but he ain't know me. Go ahead, Jeff.
I didn't know that.
Everything that happened in '86. I already kind of know a response from you because I know your personality. But who was that guy that, besides yourself, that either in the state or out of state during like your junior senior year, that not necessarily that you were worried about that, but that you wanted to lock horns with, that you wanted to race, that you look forward when y'all stepped on the track with each other?
Oh wow. I'll probably say in state it was Keith Thomas, because he was at Kenwood, I believe. I believe that's where he went to school.
He was at St. Rita first. Stop playing with us.
Yeah, he finished up
We
at
talking
Kenwood.
old school now. We're not up to date. We talking old school. And we locked horns indoor one time. That's a whole different story. I ain't gonna tell y'all the story behind it. I ended up losing. Basically had a bunch of brothers from small town, and we stayed in the hotel and stayed up all night. Nobody had really been to a hotel before. I had, because my family used to take me on vacations with them and stuff. But we just acted a fool and stayed up all night watching pornos and got straight blasted. The next morning, man, it's funny now, but it wasn't funny. It was the Oak Park Invitational.
That was huge, yeah.
That was a huge meet, that little bitty baby track. The little turns used to kill us, but we were invited to the meet as one of the top 16 teams in the state, regardless of class. And we were hyped to go to the meet. This was our chance to lock horns with the Chicago schools, and we basically blew it watching a porno called Sex World.
Who paid for that, by the way?
That's why if you go on my page,
The Decatur Public School District paid for
hey
it.
man, it's tough out there. And that's why if you go on my Facebook page and you see stuff with our high school and it says Sex World, people don't know what it means, but we know what it means. And so every time we would break a record, we would say what you just, like if it was a relay, we'll say the 4x1 that you've just seen is one of the many Sex World productions. Well, Harback owned a pizza place. So every time you set a record, you would get a large pizza. So every time we'd say Sex World, that means we getting a large pizza. Each person would get a pizza. So I left my senior year with like 33 pizzas. But Keith Thomas was the one, we hooked up outdoor at state, but I'm up here a cripple, you know, so we never got to race each other without me being jacked up from an injury or being a fool with my teammates.
All right.
Right. So you go ahead, Jeff. I don't want to step on the.
Good. I'm good.
I don't want these size 14 stepping on your little size 7 toes. So you win state. Next step, you choose Nebraska. Number one, tell us how you came to Nebraska of all the options you had.
Nebraska was the only school I had, like maybe say 40. It was a little over 40 schools that was recruiting me, and D1 schools. I mean, we had told everybody off the top, if you're not offering a full ride scholarship, don't call him. There's no need to even talk to him. I had it down to Kansas, Arkansas, and Nebraska. Those were my final 3. U of I recruited me, but I was like, they too close. I needed to get away from my city. I'm too close. I would have been coming home, seeing my girl and all that. I had to get away. I like the coaches. It was too close.
Smart man.
Arkansas, I liked Arkansas, and they were winning all the titles. Coach McDonald, he pretty much was like, you know, he didn't even check to see if I made it back home. You know, and one of the guys there that's from Illinois, I think his name was John Register. He was taking me around on my recruiting trip, and he was like, man, he's like, don't mess with it, just let it go. He's like, don't even come through. So I marked them off the list. Kansas, my teammate went there. His name was David Bond. I think he won state in the triple jump twice. He went there, but I couldn't. I like Kansas, but I had to do my own thing, man. I didn't want to be following David's footsteps. And the main reason, y'all gonna probably laugh, but the main reason why I didn't go to Kansas, even though I liked them and I liked the coaches and everything, and I would have been with my old teammate, was the fact that they had like the sky blue shirt and these hot pink shorts. So I'm like, I can't be sporting no hot pink and sky blue. That's not gonna work out. Now you gotta win. You can't lose wearing hot pink shorts, man. You can't lose. You better win. So when I went to Nebraska the first day, I didn't like it. I called my dad. My dad's like, how's the visit? I'm like, Dad, I'm not feeling this at all. It was the summer. You know, it was dead, like a lot of college towns are in the summer. And the second day, Nebraska took me around. They asked me, what are you interested in studying? And so I told them at the time it was communications, business, and art. And so they took me to meet the deans of each one of those colleges. They gave me all kinds of information. Each dean gave me all kinds of information to read. And I'm like, you know what? This is the only school that's talking about, you know, education. I can't run forever. I would like to, but I can't. What's going to happen to me when I finish and I can't run anymore? I've got to have a piece of paper. I got to have a degree, get a job. And so when I analyzed that, and Nebraska would always send me the results of all the track meets. Every meet they had, they would mail me the results as soon as the meet was over. And I kept looking, and I'm like, well, they're always getting like 4th in the meet. Every meet, they would get like 4th, 5th, but they had no sprinters. So I was like, if I sign, we winning. Well, that's what happened. I signed. They had not won conference since the year I was born, and we won nonstop all the way through my graduation. So I chose them simply. It was because of academics. You're the only ones out of all the schools that I ever talked to, out of all the schools, no, it doesn't even matter if I made a visit. Nobody ever said anything about graduating.
Right. So what was that transition like for you, coming from small town Decatur, watching Bad MacArthur and Elijah Howard football, to going to Lincoln and watching the black shirts, big college town, diverse, and of course when you're on the track team, traveling to and things like that.
It was tough. I was homesick probably the first month and a half at the most. I was homesick. You know, I was wondering if I had made the right decision. You know, maybe I should have stayed closer to home.
Milliken.
It was rough, man, because at the time you're talking about, I mean, we were struggling. I didn't have a lot of money like a lot of college students. You know, my parents was doing the best they could financially, and I wasn't used to handling money. So I go to the ATM machine, you know, and I'm buying up T-shirts and posters and everything. And then when it's time to go get something to eat, you know, you got to go eat that T-shirt because now you don't have any money for food. And that's the part that people are fooled with full ride scholarships. Yeah, I didn't have to worry about my room and tuition and board and all of that. I mean, I just give the coach the bill, and it's a done deal. They send it to the dorm, you just give it to them, it's a done deal. But when it came to stuff like if you want to take a girl out to eat or go to a movie or something, you're broke. I mean, me and my room dogs, we were going half on pizzas and stuff. You know, it was tough. I mean, it was really tough. The track part was easy. It was easy to me. I've always had work ethic. That part of it was easy. It was even the school part was easy because now there's nobody hounding me. There's nobody. I mean, they're going to tell the coach if you're not in class and stuff, but it was easier because there wasn't as much pressure.
Mute. Hey, both these guys are muted.
Yeah, you went out. I can't hear you.
Yeah, I said big campus in Lincoln, surrounded by a bunch of cornfields.
Yeah.
You're a little country guy. You thought you wanted to go to the big city or something.
Well, the thing was, man, it was the lifestyle was totally different. I mean, my room dog he didn't run track or anything. He just was a student. And I saw the difference in life. You know, he goes to get his books at the Union. He got to pick them out. I go up, say my name. They already have all the books in the bag waiting on me. You know, I eat at the football stadium and they're eating cafeteria food. You know, I've got steaks and, you know, I would bring them food from the stadium and stuff. So it was different life. You know, football games come up, everybody's in line. I walk to the front, show my ID and go sit in the front row. It's a different life when you're on full ride scholarship, but you still broke. And that's the part that people don't understand about. They think because you got a scholarship, you're set, but you're not.
So what would be some of your advice to some of the seniors now? Well, not necessarily in this COVID situation, but just seniors in general that are looking for scholarships from D1 schools.
Well, first off, it's not a senior deal. You got to start the moment that you arrive in high school. It's not a few months program. It's a 4-year program, and you've got to make moves immediately. That's the one thing that this virus has probably taught a lot of people who aren't signed right now. You've got to make moves early. You can't be sitting back. Well, I'm gonna be tight my senior year, or you know, I'm gonna wait till outdoor season. No, you've got to make moves immediately. You've got to make an impact. The freshman, sophomore year, you've got to make moves. Your grades must be tight. You can't be. I've had a lot of teammates that were older than my '86 group. You know, that they didn't end up going to college or went JUCO because they didn't have grades, and then they would figure it out the senior year, and now it's too late because they played games the first 3 years. So you've got to be on point with your grades. Those were my house rules. A lot of kids now don't have house rules because they run the house. So it's a different time frame now, man. But you can't wait. You cannot wait. And I also would say, you know, and I'm sure this is going to come up, but you need to look into running club track. The colleges are sitting there.
Oh, that's coming up.
No,
That's coming up.
You can't talk to me without bringing up
go into it.
It's coming up. Yeah, so you graduate from Nebraska, get your papers. You come back to Decatur.
Mm-hmm.
The Striders are still there, but I read some articles saying you didn't like the way things was going. So then comes the Decatur Dominators. Yes.
Yes, sir.
you start your own track club. So,
Right.
so what was that? 1990, 98? That's when you start. Hold on, I'm missing something. You
What's
were
that?
on the coaching staff 1992
Yes,
when
sir.
MacArthur won the team title. So
Won the
I don't want
title.
to. I don't leave that part out. So,
Yeah, don't leave that out.
you didn't get it in '86, but
They've been leaving that out here for like 30 years.
Yeah.
It didn't come out until we went to the Hall of Fame, and a lot of people got mad when they found out the truth.
How you get mad? What team
Well,
title?
you gotta realize something.
Small town.
People didn't know that I was coaching. My job description was the sprint hurdles relays coach. That's all that made it to state in '92. Those were all my guys, and if you had them on here, they would all tell you that. But my coach was getting the credit. The media didn't even know that I had graduated yet until the conference meet. They were like, "Well, are you here to watch somebody?" I'm like, "No, I coach." And they were like, "You graduated?" They had no idea. They didn't want to put me in the newspaper to say that former MacArthur graduate has returned to help out at the school or nothing, because I was taking the shine away from my own high school coach. What had happened was at the basketball regionals, we lost to a crosstown rival that we were supposed to kill, and we lost. I think we lost it. We lost at a buzzer shot. Pete, we lost at the buzzer. And I stood up and started screaming out loud, "Come to the track meets. I guarantee you we going to win state. Guarantee you won't be unhappy like you are right now." So I had already guaranteed we were winning the title way back when it was March Madness of '92. And then when it hit May, we won. So a lot of people, my high school coach, he's real old school. So he's about respecting the team. Well, we've got to respect Bloomington and we've got to respect Danville. I'm like, we ain't got to respect Jack.
Right.
They come to the track, they getting smashed. You know, you giving them respect off the stuff that happened when I was in high school. Yeah, they might have had nice teams, but what we about to do to them, it's not going to be nice. And so I didn't have the respect factor for people. I mean, why would I? I just went D1. I faced the best in the world. I was in the Michael Johnson, Leroy Burrell, Andre Kaysen. That was my era. Why would I be concerned with somebody from Bloomington or ran tour? Are you serious? And so I took a bunch of the kids. I took a bunch of kids. What people don't understand is Marcus Phillips I only had 2 kids that had run track ever. Marcus Phillips had run club track forever. He won both hurdles in '92. And Eric Dabner had won small school state at St. T in '91. What people don't know is, and they found out when we went to the Hall of Fame, and I'll tell you guys, because the truth needs to be known, I didn't even take the job yet. I had 2 job offers. Well, actually 3. I had an insurance job in Springfield and a coaching job at Eisenhower or coaching at MacArthur. Well, I've already explained to you about the rivalry, so you know Eisenhower was out. So I hadn't even accepted the job. I was offered the job during Thanksgiving break. I graduated December 21st. I knew I was going to take the job because it's my high school, and I knew what I could do. I didn't even know Eric. I got his number somehow through Marcus, because I coached Marcus all his life. Called him, told him, "Hey, you come to MacArthur, we going to win it." So I recruited him.
Can't do that no more.
Can't do it no more, but you could then. I called from my dorm. I hadn't accepted the job or anything. I was like, "Dude, I need one more hoss. If you come to MacArthur, we're going to win state." All the rest of the kids had criminal records longer than all our arms put together. I mean, they stayed in trouble. They had no grades. They were always in the principal's office. And then I show up. There were teachers coming up to me. "Well, what did you do? How did you fix it? This kid stayed in trouble. He never has had grades." But what it was is I related to the kids. They knew who I was and what I had accomplished. But when they come out of high school, after school, their music is blasting in the cars. When I pull into the parking lot to come to practice, my music's blasting in the car. I get out the car, my hat's backward, their hat's backward. So they could relate to me, and they fed off my confidence. So when my coach would say, "Hey, we got a tough meet coming up, You know, we got Bloomington and Danville, and you know, there's gonna be some tough teams there. The whole team would look at me, and I would shake my head like, nah. And they automatically knew, don't worry about what coach said, we winning. So, I mean, that's what it was. I mean, they thought I was gonna be a little helper boy, hold the clipboard and everything, and we did some hill workouts. And I called the sprinters together. I said, do y'all want to win state, or do you just want to go to state? And they said, we want to win. I said, well, if you want to win it, you can't do what he's doing. So I ripped up his workouts, threw him on the ground. And I said, if you do exactly what I tell you, we're going to win state.
Wrong, coach.
So their whole mindset was, it was never East St. It was never any of the it was never Proviso West. It was, we're competing against the 86 squad. That was their whole goal, to beat our team.
Needless to say, what happened between you and the coach's relationship?
We won, and the whole city knew. Some things don't have to be printed in the newspaper. Some things don't have to be on social media. The city knows. So I had the tape. Well, my brother has the tape now. He's actually converting it. We're going to release it this summer. The whole, we're going to release everything. All this.
Will we get a documentary?
We're releasing 86, all the meets, indoor and out, 89 and 92.
Good.
We're going to release. And
I can hand time your races. See if you really ran.
Put it in slow motion, so when I come across at 50 and they say 19, you'll take my hand, maybe buy me a small drink. But anyway, he got upset. You know, I basically had come in my first year and won state, and he'd been there with teams way better. So there was plenty of teams that were better than the 92 team, but they didn't win. We won it with 5 guys. That's when it was 2 classes, 2 East St. Louis's, and they both were powerhouses. So there's going to be some hate with that. I mean, I've been blackballed from jobs. You know, don't work with him, such and such and such and such. You know, it's just hate. You know, it's the same hate that you'll talk to with any other coach that's come in and has some success, or decided to start a club team or whatever. You know, there's going to be hate. I've talked to the club coaches on the circuit, and all nationwide, we all have the same story.
B-sides, right? Because I read an article in your local paper that Coach Hardback, he straight up he didn't sugarcoat it. He just said, like, you're your own guy. He was nasty. I couldn't believe what I read.
I am my own guy. And America has a hard time dealing with people like that. You know, from me to Kobe to Jordan to Brady, the people that have those type of personalities where they're their own guy, where they really don't care what other people think about them, they're going to do what they're going to do, and there's nothing you can do to stop them. America has a real tough time dealing with personalities like that. So my father told me in college, he said, son, you're going to have a rough time in life because your mindset is always 10 years ahead of where everyone else's thinking is. I mean, look at this. I mean, Tony, how many years have I said we needed to do this podcast? I've been leaning on you for like 2 to 3 years, maybe 4. I'm like, boss, we need to do this. We need to do this.
Tony hard-headed.
No, he listened finally.
It took me and Jeff to come in and clean this dude up.
Yeah, I got to clean him up a little bit.
Jeff has been on my head about it.
Yeah, I've been on you. Yeah.
It's been tough, but I wouldn't change it because the relationships that I built with the guys, even the ones that didn't make it to state, I was always fair. I was always a fair coach. And that's what they say. I mean, I had the rules where if you were on a relay team and little Jimmy comes up on Tuesday and he says, Coach, I can beat Marcus. Guess what? Wednesday, we're lining it up. And if you lose, you're out. That actually happened against East St. Louis. That was not my real team. The first meet, someone lost in a They hooked up on Wednesday and they lost. And I was like, you're out. That would keep the guys on their toes. That way they can't say, well, I got my spot. It's locked up. A lot of teams, that's how they feel. You know, there's never any competition during the season. This keeps you on your toes the whole time. They know they got to bring it.
Right. Let's stick with this club track. That we're going to get into some old school versus new school and
Okay.
Some current IHSA type stuff. I believe you trained up to 9 months of the year. At least that's what you eligible before the spring season starts. So that's a 3-month period where you have to sit in the stands and watch. How difficult is that for you now? Or even back then in '98 when you started watching, you know, some of your athletes, I guess, not being trained the way you've trained them or not performing the way you think they should perform. How tough has that been for you?
That's a trick question.
Hey, tricks are for kids. I know tricks question.
That's a trick question right there. Huh. I gotta be careful how I answer this one. I'll be honest with you. Before I started my team, I would coach. I had kids individually. They would come to me and I would coach them, and it wasn't a problem. What's happened through the years is the schools already know. They know who my athletes are. So some schools, they put up a fight. They're upset. You know, they're like, oh, he's in the way. I mean, I think one of the greatest compliments of my life so far has been that I steal the best athletes. That's a compliment to me. They don't realize that these are the same kids that they overlooked and wouldn't put in the newspaper and give them hype on the news. And when we were trying to get interviews for them, you overlooked them. And now they're in high school winning. And now you're saying I stole the best ones. Well, those are my athletes. I'm just letting you borrow them. And I've told coaches that in their face. I'm letting you borrow my athletes. Now, I can't give you the keys to this Lamborghini and you turn it into a Pinto. I can't do that. And so what they have to realize is what a lot of school coaches don't realize, and I understand there's going to be some people get mad, but I really don't care. This is a nationwide issue with club coaches. I mean, I could just name names of coaches all over the country who deal with situations where the school coach has either run the kid into the ground because they're the best one and they've got them in a gazillion events, or they haven't coached them right now, they're injured, and they're going to be upset about that. But it's hard for a club coach to sit back after they've taken a kid off the street, shown them everything that they need to know, turned them into a champion, fed them, paid their fees, picked them up, drove them to the meets, paid for the hotel, drove them back home when their parents didn't care about them. And then all of a sudden they get to the school season and the school coach says, don't listen to this guy. He doesn't know what he's talking about. But the kid is sitting there like, but wait a minute, I just won nationals. Who have you coached that's won? And so, and I've got the type of athletes, and throughout the years, they will tell the school coach, "You're not my coach. You're the coach here, but you're not my coach. I have a coach." And what frustrates a lot of the school coaches is, especially with club coaches, is the club season. And I wrote about this in one of my B-sides. I think it was a couple years ago.
I know you're going with it.
Yeah, so you know where I'm going, T. See, the kids come in and they've already had 5, 6, 7 meets. They've already run in several meets. If you're really good, like my last sprinter a couple years ago, you're at Vanderbilt, you're at Arkansas, you're at UK, you're at New Balance. So when you come in, whether you wanted those places or not, one, you've gotten the schools to sweat you. They think, because perception is everything. Perception is everything. I said that about my first sprinter that I took to New Balance before it was called New Balance. It was NSIC. We were the first ones to go to New York, but people in this state didn't know it. So I take in there, I say, when they said all the way from Illinois, when Ian, the announcer, mentioned it, said his name, lane 5 or whatever lane he was in, they lost their minds. What, Illinois is here in New York? Well, the perception was my sprinter must be the best sprinter in the state. When the reality was, when state came, and I can't explain why, he was a better club runner against tougher competition than he was at state. He'd get put out in the prelims at state. But when you took him to the big meets, he's in the finals. And I'm like, this is crazy. So you're asking a club coach to take his hands off and watch his kid become a scrub. There are very few coaches in this state, very few, male or female, that a club coach is going to just truly feel like, okay, I can trust this coach to guide my athlete. And both coaches are on the same page, which is very difficult. That's a very difficult task, to have them both on the same page for the better good of the athlete. That's a hard thing to do because there's egos involved. If you're a coach, you got an ego. It's just different levels to it. If you don't have an ego, you need to get out because you ain't trying to win.
It's true. Very, very true. Ugh.
Y'all's gonna come with it. This virus messed me up, man.
Man, we still in the warm-up stages. We're still in the warm-up stages here.
I'm ready to go. I'm on this couch. I'm feeling good. Got pillows behind me. Got my pajamas on. We can do this.
So with that said, because as a club coach, you said, so do you think there should be, say, for example, just throwing an idea out, I don't know if I necessarily agree with it, just that more kind of, especially for an elite athlete, you mentioned a Lamborghini, an elite athlete, you drive that Lamborghini once in a while, not even every meet. So say, for example, like other club sports, do you think we need more club track actually during the season?
No, not during the season.
Okay.
No.
So what about the elite athletes who, say, for example, should they be forced to train with their high school coach who they don't maybe say necessarily trust? But what if they got a high school coach, as you said, who, if you don't train with me, you don't run on this team?
Well, you got to understand the generation we're dealing with. This generation will say, fine, I won't run.
Yeah.
Then it comes down to a money issue. How much money do you have? Can you get to the meets without them? Understand. I can't remember the kid's name, and I actually met him and wrote about him. Who's the kid last year that I met in Indiana, at the Indiana meet, who beat Marcellus in New York? I can't call it. He goes to Kentucky right now.
Langston?
Yeah.
Langston.
Yeah.
Was it Langston?
Yeah, Langston.
St. Louis?
Oh, P, help me here. It's either Langston
The other kid.
or Justin.
Not Langston. Langston's from Lexington.
Oh, it's Langford.
You're talking about Justin Robinson?
I can't remember his name. No. Last year, came out of nowhere. Beat
I think it was Langston. He was from
out of
Kentucky.
Oregon? The dude from Oregon?
No. He was from St. Louis. He didn't even run for his school.
Oh, he went to the meet in
UK.
Indiana. He ran the meet at IU.
Yeah.
The club meet.
That's where he started at. And then the next week, he beat Marcellus at UK.
In the 200, right?
In the 60.
60.
I don't have a clue.
I can't remember the kid's name.
I know what you're talking about, though.
He's at UK right now.
I think that's Langston, dude.
No, Langston's from Lexington.
I don't know.
Yeah,
But
go
anyway.
ahead.
Anyway.
Keep talking. I'll try to dig it up.
Anyway, that kid right there, I mean, he's a perfect example. He didn't even run for his school. And look where he is. And when I met him, he had no idea where he was going. Me and my brother asked him, well, where are you going to college? He's like, I don't know. I looked up this year, and here he is at UK. And so I'm like, dang. So what you have to realize is, like I said, it's frowned upon, as I wrote in one of my, the blog before this one, the B-side before this one. It's frowned upon because the school coach has no control. They have no control over this. And you have to realize the athlete that runs club track that goes to these big meets, he or she is already ranked before they have an informational meeting at the school. So that kid's already in shape.
Lance
He's
Lang.
already lathered up.
Lance Lang.
Lance Lane, that's him. And so you're already lathered up. You've had 6 meets. Well, if you live where I live, I think before this virus hit, they had maybe a total of 2 meets. How are you having a total of 2 meets and the state meets at the end of it's like in a month? They had no meets. And so I'm sitting there like, well, they've been set up to fail. There's no way they'll be successful unless you just got a lot of talent because there's not enough meets. As my son used to say, as a kid, he was like, Dad, it takes at least 2 meets for me. He said, by that 3rd meet, now I'm feeling right. He said, the first meet, okay, you're going to make some mistakes, you're nervous. The second meet, you're like, okay, I need to fix what I messed up on the first meet. Well, while you're fixing that, maybe what was right the first meet, because you were focused on what you did wrong the first meet, now you messed up on what was right. The 3rd meet is when things start feeling like they're coming together. You start putting the pieces together. Well, a lot of schools really don't have but about 3 or 4 meets. So the closer it gets to, okay, I'm trying to make it to top times, well, guess what? You're not lathered up. Lord help if you get hurt. Okay, now the pressure builds. I got to make it. I got to make it. You're looking at the rankings. I got to make it. I got to make it. So the pressure builds. Now you don't make it. Indoor season, gone. Now you're down to 3 years if you're a freshman. If you're a sophomore, now you're down to 2. You're a junior and you blew it, and that's supposed to be your come-out year. Now you're sweating. You're a senior. You're unsigned because signing day isn't back in November. You better come through outdoor or you going to JUCO somewhere. It's tough, man. It's tough. And that's why I say I really don't understand why school coaches get upset because it's for the greater good of the athlete. But I do understand what they're saying as far as a control aspect. Because most kids that are coming off the street, they're not going to look at their school coach the same way. See, the club coach is looked at as family.
Sure.
He's provided where the parents couldn't provide.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had arguments with my wife because I've taken money that probably should have went on a bill or something and put it on a kid that's not mine. You know, because I think the kid has a future and can make it.
Yeah, I've done that before. Got in big trouble.
You did it to Jeff. Yep. Tony Jones.
That's the tough part of being a club coach. So you don't want to see the kid fail because you think they have a future.
Right. You know, I don't see it too much. I know we had an incident 4 years ago with a female athlete who graduated last year, but at least publicly I don't see too many rifts between club and high school coaches. Not saying it's not happening, but for some reason, like some of these athletes are coming in ready as freshmen. And if I'm at school X and I get that athlete at Jeff as his club coach, I probably don't want to cross paths or make Jeff mad because in this day of age, if a kid don't like what they see, what's happening next? They, like you mentioned, they quitting the team or they transferring somewhere else. So some coaches would rather just deal with it, just to, you know, take the athlete and get the glory that comes along with that.
I've said that for years. P, I've said that for years. Why are you upset? Just be quiet. They're not gonna put the club coach's name. We're not gonna throw nobody under no coaches under the bus. But the bottom line is you can tell when you get to certain meets, somebody is coaching that athlete. That's not the school coach. I've had people tell me, and I was sitting here playing video games, people would say, hey man, you coaching such and such? I'm like, no, I'm not coaching them. And they're like, well, man, they set their blocks up the same way your kids set them up. They can tell by technique that I'm coaching them. I do things that other coaches don't even know. So they have to realize, man, this is for the greater good of the kid. We're trying to send them to school. College is like out of pocket financially.
Yeah.
If you can get a scholarship or even a partial, you know,
that'll save you.
You gotta do it. You gotta do it.
And kids are doing it. Like some kids recognize that regardless of sport. Hey, I can't get it done at Eisenhower. Let me go to MacArthur.
Exactly.
You talk with Decatur. I'm not saying that's what's happening. That's where you're from. It's picking on them.
I'm telling you, it is happening.
It happens that way, regardless of sport. Just look at it. You follow Illinois, if you follow national, all these prep schools like
Basketball.
Bishop Gorman and IMG popping up and stuff like that.
Yep.
If I'm not getting it, if I can't get it here, I'm going to go there. And
Well,
what's $40,000?
You have to, Pete, because, and I'm going to tell you why. There are no red shirt seasons in high school.
No.
You got 4 shots. When my son went to high school, for his first game in football as a freshman, he was playing varsity. I said, dude, here's the bottom line. There's 9 games per season. You have 36 total games to impress a college. If your team happens to be good enough, you're blessed to rent a playoff game. That's it. You got 36 games in football to make a move to have some college say, hey, I like that kid. Well, most of it ain't going to happen your freshman year. So now every Friday I'll be like, boss, hey, we down to 30. Boss, the next year, the sophomore year, boss, we down to 25. We got to make a move, you know. So that, because here's the thing that I always say to people. Unless there's a good relationship between the school coach and the athlete and that family, they're never going to call and check and see on how you're doing once you walked across that stage and turn that tassel and they play pomp and circumstance. When they go, that's it. You done. They got to go find another you. No one's called here to check on my son. They haven't said, well, did he go to the Army? Is he on the street? Did the virus get in? Nobody calls. My school's called me twice since I graduated. Twice. And guess what? That was to recruit one of my athletes. They didn't call to say, hey, man, how's things going? You got a job? They don't. It's a wrap. That's why you have to be smart enough as an athlete to get the education, because once it's over with, they're done with you. It's a business. It's a business from a college level. High school, hey, you made the school look good. You made the coach look good. It basically comes down to your inner circle, your family. That's what it comes down to after you graduate. Your parents or grandparents or whatever. There's very few people who are going to still be supporting you. No one's come to any of my son's games. He's a sophomore in college. No one's come to his games. So, that's how it is.
Right. Let's get into some old school versus, unless Jeff or Tony want to prolong this a little bit longer.
Yeah,
But if not.
Yeah, I wanted to say, for a male athlete, you typically get 3 years, because freshman boys, unlike girls, don't mature. It takes,
I ain't ready yet. Nope.
You're right.
you can forget it. So
Most schools, to be honest.
Most schools, yeah.
Yep, you're right. And I tell my athletes that you don't have 4, you have 3.
Right.
I tell my athletes that every year.
Yeah, if a freshman good, he's 16 years old. That's usually what it means. But let's get into some new school versus old school. I know you're an old school guy, walking around with your John Thompson senior towel on your shoulder, all that stuff. So you're an old school guy living in a new school era. What get under your skin the most about us new school guys like me and Jeff?
You new school. Me and B-side talked about
you new school.
You talking about you. Me and B-side had.
You new school.
Hey, up in the state booth, man.
It's
okay,
really
fine.
I don't have any problem. I don't have any problem with the new school guys like you. I have a problem with the new school ways. Some of the training. The kids don't train for real.
Okay, talk about that. What's training for real?
The work ethic is different than the old school. These kids now, they feel like they can go to Walmart after they bought all their toilet paper and go to the next aisle and buy W's. You can't do that. You got to put in work. They want the results, but they don't want to put in the work. It's kind of like my boy used to say. He's like, everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die. I mean, that's what this just generation wants. Everything now, instant. They feel like even the social media, the kids, what kills me probably the most is the hype that a lot of kids get. Like, oh man, he's great. They throw the words around like, oh, he's a legend. He's one of the best of all time. Where if they had gone through the same old school rules or even hooked up with the old school, they would have got smashed. But Everybody's a winner. You know, we've created 3 classes so everybody could be a winner. Bottom line. I mean, my day, you either good or you're not. There's no middle ground. There's no trophy. There's no participation trophy.
I've argued with these guys.
Put in that work.
One class. One class.
What,
Absolutely
we
not.
can do that
No.
too.
No.
Guess
No.
who's the only one on this panel comes from a one class system?
You.
Well, Indiana's not a real track state anyway.
Oh,
Sorry.
yes, it is. You heard of
Come
Gary
on.
Roosevelt, right?
Yeah. It's a basketball
All
state.
the
I heard of Gary
Indianapolis schools.
It is
Roosevelt for
the basketball team. Y'all know y'all basketball.
Hey, be cool.
No, we ran track too, B.
No, I didn't
Yeah,
say
you
y'all
right.
didn't run. Y'all ran.
We had some teams that ran very fast.
I'm just saying y'all are known for basketball.
Correct.
That's
Gary
number one sport, but
Roosevelt
we had-
basketball. Glenn Robinson.
Go look through our all-time records. Match up with any state.
Hey, we're not gonna make this an Indiana track podcast. Shout out to my Indiana people. I know a bunch of y'all follow me on.
Oh yeah,
Twitter.
we love them now. We ain't
No
hating on them.
disrespect. No, that was a little jokey joke for Tony Jones. I don't want to get destroyed in my inbox, but no to a one-class system, Jeff. You out your mind. But yes, I definitely would like a 2-class system back, and I think moving to 3 classes has robbed us of matchups. Like, for example, fresh on my mind is 2016 or 2015, where you have possibly the greatest 200-meter field, in my opinion, on the track in 3A, but you have someone like a Josh Eicher in 2A running solo. He needs to be up with those big boys running.
Yeah.
And then a year later, they move him up to 3A. It makes no sense.
You know how you kill all of that and not have to worry about then a double A, 1 class.
I'm sorry,
meet,
Jeff.
Listen. State meet is not a participation meet. You want the best of the best. So what you start to do, you either have the same way you're doing cross country. You have a regional, or you have a sectional, then you have a super sectional, then you have state. So like actually coming out of sectionals means a lot more. If you win a super sectional, you are like a favorite for state. Not like, okay, the goal is just to qualify for state. I think you get a more quality state meet overall as well.
California does that.
I know. That's where I'm getting it from.
Well, here's the thing. If you do it for track, you got
All-American kids that don't make it sometimes to state in California.
okay.
They're a guy that doesn't make it to state is better than our state champ. What's that saying about the sport?
That's saying that's California. They need to stay out of our damn business. In Illinois, we need 2 classes.
You're a participation coach. I'm fine.
No, I'm not. What are you saying? I'm from a 2-class era like the rest of y'all. What are you saying? What are you saying?
Because we went in 2 class right now, you wouldn't be getting the matchups anyway. Your school would be in A.
No, we wouldn't. What are you talking about?
Would.
We'd be in double A. What are you talking about?
That's true. What about what's his name?
We was in double A my
that
first year. What are you talking about?
The 400 guy. We had a debate the other day, Pierre. 124 guy from Leo.
We're gonna get there. Hold on. Hold fast, Tony Jones. Because Jeff's trying to get me off track. First of all, I come from a
Ain't no track.
Ryan Shields.
we
was the
don't
best
need
sprinter.
again, remember,
Best
in this
sprinter.
state, if we go 1 class, then all the other sports have to decrease to 1 class, and you're gonna get some ugly results, dude.
We
Trust
don't
me.
care about the other sports. We talking about
What are you talking about? Get out of here. Everybody know. Even back in B-sides days, wasn't no class A guys. They were good, don't get me wrong, with Beach Graves and guys like that. He probably could have done it.
after me though.
Yeah.
LaBeach was way after me.
Right.
That
But
was
there's
a
some
rare.
guys-
That was a rare sighting.
I
when a
personally
small
think
school guy
that's the
beat the
standard
large
for the rest of the state, because therefore, if you know this is this automatic state qualifying time, you know I need to run this time or whatever, top 4 or some, or top 3. Ain't no, because I'm in class A, we just, or you get teams qualifying with garbage times just because they were the only other team able to put together a 4x8 or a 4x4. And you get people or in the 2 mile, for God's sake. You get people coming in, girl side running 13 minutes, guy side running 11 minutes. It's like, get the hell out of here.
Yeah, give me a break. That's the argument to go from 3 to 2. Now, back in my day and B-side days, 1A wasn't weak, dude. 1A was not.
true.
Look at the team standings, bro.
That's true.
First through 5th was separated by like 3 points in the standings,
Yeah.
bro. Now
Class A
this
wasn't no joke.
this 1A is a different story.
But
This era 1A is a different
what's the
story.
difference, though? You're still
Enrollment, Jeff.
Oh.
You can't have Farmington going against Lane Tech, bro.
Dude, track is one of the purest sports where your speed matters. It doesn't matter.
No,
if you go
no,
to
no,
a
no,
school-
no, no, no,
listen.
no.
Either you
BS,
pass or
BS.
not.
I look at it like this, fellas.
pure
This is how I
sport.
look at it. And what I
Sugar is
said this
pure.
for like, I don't know how many years. It would only work indoor season in top times. What you do is, and I don't know why no one's done it yet. What you do is you take your best people, those regardless of class, and you have like, you let everyone else roll. Like let's say the 60, okay? And
Right.
you roll in the 60. Those top ones, those top 6 to 7 people or whatever, regardless of class, whether it's class 1A or 2A or 3A, they hook up in an invitational 60. And then that decides who is the best sprinter. Then there's no more arguments. Now that's
Right.
not going to fly outdoor.
No.
But indoor, I told Tony that you can't do it every year because every year everybody ain't tight. But I'm saying when there's like an argument and they say, hey, this kid is really good, but they'll never hook up, that particular event, that's the year that you have your invitational.
Maybe we need just a one individual state meet then after the team state meet.
Well,
Yeah, that's been proposed, Jeff. It got shot down.
We're not worried about relays.
Well, it won't happen because of economics. Now especially now that these state associations are going to be underwater in the red with revenue concerns. Right. It'll never go back to that. It's all about. And I've talked to me and Pierre met with the IHSA. If you go back and look at our interview with Craig Garber, track czar, he basically said it's a money issue.
Yeah,
and it's not going to change now.
No, it's not going to change.
Jeff trying to come out. Hey, single A is better than 1A. Yes, it's still one letter A, but with the one in front of it, it's different than one without the one in front of it. Single A was tough back in the day.
Yeah, it was tough.
So I like 2 classes. One class, give me a break. Give me a break. I don't like it. Not for our state. Maybe in Delaware, that little bitty state, Rhode Island or something like that, where they got 50 people in the whole state.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
It needs to be 2 classes.
Right. So sticking with the old school, new school, I recently watched a Grown Man Talk that I don't remember recording, by the way. And had you mentioned that kids these days are very happy with jumping like 23 feet, for example, and you like 23 feet, that didn't even make the finals. It's so neat. So I think you specifically mentioned the 23 is the new 24 in this era.
It is. Yeah, I wrote about that. I wrote about that when Jamari was jumping, and I think I put a list out actually when they were talking about the golden era of jumping in the state, and I was like, we would see that on a weekly basis at the meets. I can't remember all the names of the guys that I put down, but it's the new. Things are just different now, man. I mean, you can get height now for a 23. If you go 22, 10, somebody's height. You know, whereas that didn't move the needle when I was in high school. Like I said, our qualifying times were 10.6 and 21.7 when I was in high school. I've told you guys this in the press box at Eastern. If that was the rules now, there would be pages ripped out of the track program. Those programs would be cheaper every year at Eastern because you would have to eliminate the 1, the 2, the 4 because you don't have enough people to even fill the lanes. And that's what the difference is now. I mean, but you got to hype who the winner is. The media must hype, as I tell my kids, no matter how much they love you or hate you or however the respect level is, if you win, they must talk about you. They must write about you. So I had a kid a few years ago ask me, Coach, what do I have to do to run like you did? I was like, there's nothing you can do. Even with me coaching you, you're not going to run like me because you don't have the drive. See, in our generation, it was an escape. Track. It was kind of like I've told my kids about East St. Louis. A lot of teams are just running to participate, whereas East St. Louis looks at it as a way to escape their environment. You see what I'm saying? There's a lot of Chicago teams, a lot of Chicago athletes. They're looking at it as this is a way to escape. kids on my team, a lot of my kids, maybe not now, but in past years, this was an escape to get out of the environment, because here you're going to get either shot. I mean, we've had plenty of people shot, not as many as y'all, but I mean, people around here, I'm like, if you stayed in the house, maybe you wouldn't have got shot. But daily. I mean, it's sad, man. 23, 24, 25, and that's the part that's different now. And so those athletes are going to get that hype from the social media, and you're sitting there like, are you serious? They're hyping this kid that ran a 10.6, that ran a 10.7, where I used to jog that. I mean, I have videos here that you would hear the newscaster as he's announcing saying he strided across in the prelims at 10.6.
I got it right here, by the way. 1986 qualifying standard for the 100 meters was 10.8.
That's the same as it is now. What are we saying here?
Yeah, they changed it when my brother came.
Well, it's supposed to be faster 30 years later, but it's really not.
No damn 10. It wasn't no 10.8 last year.
No, it wasn't 10.8 in 86.
No, Jeff. No.
It's like 11 flat, bro.
No, Tony, listen.
89.
No, Jeff. The 10.8 listed is hand time 10.8, which is like an 11 something now.
Well, whatever.
Exactly.
But here's the deal. It says all prelim, semifinals, and final times are FAT unless noted otherwise.
See, they changed it to 10.8. My brother was came out in 89, and they changed qualifying to 10.8 and 22 flat his senior year. And then people couldn't run that. So then they lowered it again to what it is now.
Yeah, they lower it.
I mean, now you run 11. I mean, I was running 11 flat in junior high. And you see people making the finals talking about they run 11 flat, 11-1. I'm like, oh my God.
So what's a real sprinter to you? We just had a guest on who said some of the times we running that some of our kids are running that don't make them a real sprinter. What's a real sprinter time to you in the 1 and the 2?
For high school in this
high school? We're talking high school. In Illinois, this state. Yeah, what's a real
sprinter in general, not this state.
I was gonna say, period.
Yes, what a real sprinter is.
Okay, if we're talking about period, then I'm looking at, well, now you're talking 10.4 or faster. You got to give me at least 10.4 for me to even be moved.
So if they were slower than because this was his thought process. Not like, let's say if 10.4 is your threshold.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, they would move up, correct, to the 400?
If I'm coaching them and they run 10.4?
Yeah. No,
because we winning it. That's D1, boss.
What are you talking about?
D1. There's nobody running 10.4s and low 21s. Marcellus, look what Marcellus was doing.
Special.
You see what I'm saying? There's not a lot of Marcelluses, though. That's what I'm trying to tell you. So now that Marcellus is gone, if there was a season, if we were to have a season and somebody ran 10.4 and 21 low, we would be losing our minds.
Oh, that would have happened this year. That would have happened. One guy.
You think so, huh?
Yeah, but yeah, it would have. And he's a 48 guy as a freshman. He just dropped to 400. You know, Stewart went 10.4 last year and 21 low. So he was going to run that. Okay. He definitely was going to run that. But he's a 48 mid 400 meter runner. He gave it up after a while. I have no clue why, but you don't see. Yeah, a lot of sprinters scared of the 400. I know Jeff don't like that. Jeff think the real
I don't like
1,
the
2,
4.
4.
I hated the 400.
Could you run it?
I hated the 400. I ran it, and I would run it on the relay, and my coach, he knew that I wasn't. I mean, he knew what I was gonna do. I would stride it. I'll pick it up the last 150. I'm gonna jog. I mean, I have it on tape. I'll jog the first 300, and I went 47.6. 47.6. I mean, but I hate the 400. Now I liked it more in college. As far as the 4x4, I loved it in college, but in high school, I hated it.
Marcellus was, for the record,
the 200.
Yeah.
I
For the
mean, I'm
record-
worn out from the 2, and now you put me in the 4. And he would make sure that I run anchor.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, that's gonna make him run. I still would jog the first 300.
For the record, Marcellus is exceptional. He was 47. He was U.S. number 10 legal win. There was
Exactly.
no other Illinois kid in the top 50.
That's what I'm saying. You don't have a bunch of those guys. We're back down to, well, we don't know now because of the virus. And if this season's totally canceled, even if it comes back, depending on how people have worked, it's a done deal. So now you're looking at next year's outdoor times. Okay,
I don't see it.
that's not happening.
I don't see it.
That's what I'm saying. So
I don't presently see it.
I don't either.
So we were supposedly a lot have said that we were entering a golden era, not in a golden era, but entering one.
What?
Put your foot over the door and stuff like that. Entering a golden era of track. I remember you specifically saying 1 or 2 years or 1 or 2 people don't make this a golden era or a golden age. That was 5 years ago. You said that. 5 years later, how do you feel about this golden era? Did we reach that point or no?
No.
No. Just want to get you on record.
No.
Okay.
We haven't come close.
Well, let me ask you this before you go off, B.
I'm not gonna go off.
Well, here's what's going to happen. Once the dust settles, all of these so-called coaches who know everything are going to say, if it wasn't for the corona or whatever, we would be on a march up. That's what's going to happen. That's going to be the escape.
Well, that's going to be the excuse.
But which corona are we talking about here? Because some of them coaches be on that real corona.
I mean,
COVID-19.
Okay, good.
Come
on now.
Corona.
Yeah.
Like they be on that corona making workouts.
I mean, they could say that. I mean, but all that we have to use as a measuring stick is what we had up to indoor season before, it got shot down. So you have to look at it and say, okay, well, how many people? When I'm talking about the guys, how many guys that were in the 62 or the 4 were ranked in the top 15 to 20 in America? Exactly. That's the laugh I want to give. So if they weren't even doing it, and they've had at least 4 meets, and nobody's in the top 20, what were they going to do outside?
But do our standard have to be where you sit in the national rankings? If we go back to your time, there weren't. Hold on. No. I'm a national ranking guy too. I like to look at it, but I'm just saying. Back in the old school, you didn't really get the national rankings as often as we get them now. So you just competed. So
that's correct.
So why does it have to be a criteria for it to be a golden era? Because I could argue, for those who say this is the golden era, look at the amount of state records that's been broken within the last 5 to 6 years. Discus, 100 meter, 200, 4x1, 4x2. Everything's been broken.
But you have to also realize, P, they eliminated what the records were when they decided to have 3 classes. You see what I'm saying? They wiped out what was 2A like it never happened.
No. They moved it to 3A.
Yeah, but when you look at the records, a lot of the people that ran back in the day, it's like they never existed.
Yeah, like Craig Virgin, for example, it's
like it never happened.
His 2-mile record is still more superior than the 3,200, and I know he's annoying at times, but he's right though. His 8:36 or whatever is, I mean, like you know what I'm saying, metric versus close, like metric versus meters it's not even the same.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying. So
my argument for the new school, so to come at you old school guys, is okay. Look at the times. The times are. Let me take a step back. Not the times. The records. The records have been broken. Even the 4x4 has been broken in this decade. The 100, 200, 4x2, 4x8, long jump, triple jump. Yeah.
Who?
It was broken in this decade. East St. Louis. Wait, I'm sorry. That was not this decade. Sorry.
Yeah, I know.
Correct. That was in the 2000s. Sorry. Excuse me.
I can't hear you, T.
We can't hear you.
Can't hear you, T.
That's a good thing.
Got him on me.
No, I don't have him on mute. His volume's down. or
I
something.
mean, not to take anything away from, because I've coached only during this decade, but I mean, one thing sometimes I don't know how much a record it plays, but we don't look at the differences of spikes, surfaces, for example, different surfaces that kids
That's
are
legit.
on compared to what they ran on, over 30 years ago.
That's
And
legit.
Illinois is not the exact same track it was.
Not to cut you off, Jeff, but again, you got to understand this generation. You go in the state talking about, oh, I ran one race, boom, I'm in the final. No, a lot of the times that you see from the old school boss, we done ran the prelims, the semis. I mean, I didn't have a meet where I ran under 8 races. I didn't have a meet where I never ran less than 8 times. Okay, so by the time the finals comes up, you've already run 5 times, the day before in the prelims and the semis. So now you're down to fumes. That's how I said this generation got it easy. If they had to run the rounds, very, very few would be able to progress. Because now you can almost be just in some kind of shape and make it to the finals. Whereas
Hey, stop what
you found out exactly who was in shape, exactly who could coach. Because a lot of our prelim races, I mean, we strided, we jogged. You didn't even turn it up until the semis. That's how we were able to run 8 races. I mean, if you look at
this running around stuff.
If you look at my tapes, you'll see me looking around after like 70 meters. I'm looking around to make sure, and then I'm shutting it down. It would be very tough.
Yeah, you talk about running the rounds, dog. That's where. Come on now.
That's a factor, P.
Okay, you said to see who was in shape. Okay, it's not a fitness contest here.
But it was
you
then.
know dang well.
But it was then. Now it's not. You can be drunk and get down the track.
Nah, I've seen some drunk people like try to get down the track, but they ain't flying.
No, we got some good drunk ones here. They can
one of them was on this show. I ain't gonna say no names though, but you know dang well you would have preferred it back then as it is now. No prelims in the sections. 1 round in the state. Of course you would love that. Come on now. We get a lot of old school guys like yourself, Johnny.
No.
Sometimes Coach Bo, right? These kids don't run the rounds. Well, why would
you
want
run the rounds? I want to see you. I want to see you scrap. That way we know that you in shape. Anybody, people that have slipped or something in a race, and some guy that wasn't supposed to win gets lucky because the superstar slipped.
What?
Okay, but if he makes it to the semis, okay, I might have messed up in the. There was plenty of meets where I'm like, man, I could have ran better in that prelim. Okay, I'm gonna get it in this semi. Where if you mess up now, now everybody about the same speed. But if you mess up now, it could be a wrap for you.
Give me a break. You can't believe that. Before you even touch the 4x1, you got prelims on your legs.
Watch this, P. What was it? A couple years ago when my sprinter Ronald Reed was in the prelims at state, dude comes out the blocks wrong. He misses the finals by a spot. He made one mistake. Done. Okay, this is the same kid. Okay, but this is the same kid. This is the same kid who was just at New Balance in the finals and emerging elite. You see what I'm saying?
I was pretty surprised about that, by him not.
That's what I'm telling you. He made one mistake and missed the finals by a spot, and it was to a kid from it was a kid
Chicago.
From Illinois. I can't remember the kid. He beat the brakes off of him every time they faced each other. He was from Central Illinois. We killed him. One mistake and he was done.
Hey, that's the way it is, man. Like
that is the way it is.
I don't like I said. It's about being fresh. I don't want the 12th seed making the finals or qualifying for state because Bob Jelks slipped out the blocks. Give me a break. Give me a break. He's gonna get destroyed. Give me a break. He's
gonna get destroyed. But at the same time, you got people that make the final. As long as they're in first, they could be timed by calendar. But as long as they're first, they go to the final.
That's fine. The Heat winner.
That's not fine.
I don't like the Heat winner.
Right.
Give me the top times. Give me the top times, boy.
I agree with you.
I think you got to do Heat winner. I don't want to get into a whole track.
That's that distance stuff. That's that distance stuff.
You have to. Okay. Let's say one Heat, you know what I mean? You got a negative 1 point something, you know what I mean, headwind. Mm-hmm. Then the next Heat, you got a +3. Obviously, that +3 has a, you know what I mean, advantage over the next. Everybody in that heat's going to be slower than everybody. So you're saying nobody in that heat should make it because they have to run into a headwind?
No. Everybody's running the same direction. We can't control the wind, bro. Everybody's running the same
That's
direction.
why you do heat winners.
No. The decision is made before the race you begin. Hey, we're going to run this way. We don't know what the wind gust is going to be. Like you said, yours might be 0, mine might be 5.8. And everybody and 4 guys in my section qualify for the final. It is what it is.
Can you hear me?
So what?
That's true.
It happens. It don't matter. But I like the top 8. But I get what you're saying, Jeff. You're not wrong. But I'm probably talking because one of my guys was number 7, but he didn't win this. He did get up the fight. Kerry Lockhart won the heat, and my guy didn't get out. I was like, oh well. That was terrible.
Is my volume running?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
All right, bet.
Yeah. So as we get closer to the end, we thought we got rid of Tony Jones finally.
Okay.
As we near the end, but this thing ran long. We know B-Side talk so much.
Well, you get the 4 of us together, it's a wrap.
Right. Everybody gets 30 minutes of talking, equaling a 2-hour show. So, if you could transport back in time, you know, like Marty McFly did to 1955 when he said Ronald Reagan was the president, and they laughed at him. If you can go back to 86 and talk to your boy and say, hey, man, you'll never guess what the heck they doing in 2020. What would you tell those guys that you've seen? What would you bring back to the future or back to the past?
I've seen some stuff. I've seen coaches as of this year with athletes doing like flying 10s and flying 20s as their workout, but the athlete runs the 400. It like drives me nuts, man. And then the kids will call me and be like, Coach, you ain't gonna believe what we just did. The workouts, some of the workouts are like pathetic. That I would say that the camaraderie, the team camaraderie isn't like it was back in the day. And I wrote about that a few years ago. And that was a beautiful moment because that weekend at the U of I, it was like everybody, all the teams read my blog and were doing what we used to do surrounding the track and clapping and warming up together. It was a beautiful thing. The camaraderie is not the same anymore. The crowds aren't the same anymore. The total attendance is like pathetic. The atmosphere is not the same at State. Tony interviewed me last year at State, and he actually took the camera and showed the number of people. If I was to pull out behind my old VHS tape and show you the number of, actually, Tony sent me a video, I believe it was 92. I think it was 92 of all the people that were in the stands. It was unreal how many people were there. And the crowds are different now. The interest level isn't as high. You have a lot of kids running just to run. Whereas, as I said, back in the day, you know, people love track. Track was actually the sport, you know, and now it's like, well, an extra recess with uniforms on. We don't really get the respect that we deserve unless it's a world championship or a Olympic year. And that's the sad part of track. And I'm actually kind of nervous. I know this is off topic, but I'm actually kind of nervous with this virus, what's going to happen with the colleges as far as money. What programs may be getting cut at the college level. Because track doesn't get a lot of love, I'm afraid a lot of schools are going to say track got to go. You know, because if
at the smaller level,
that could be a problem.
Yeah, you're right. It doesn't bring in a lot of money.
Right. It doesn't bring in a lot of money. So I would say those are some of the issues that I see. I mean, I saw it at my own college about 3 years ago. I went back. I go back every year for a football game. And I went to the practice. And I said, I want to see what the difference is between when I was here and now. And I was there way before practice started. And it was crazy that all the bleachers that were there, this generation sat exactly where we sat. But the difference was when I was there, I mean, you had guys walking around with their shirts off, who's throwing the party, who's sleeping with who, you know, your mama joke, you know, and I'm sitting there watching this generation, and everybody had laptops. I'm talking right at the practice. They all had laptops. They were reading books, and I'm like,
they ain't focused on
I was like, what is going on? So at the end of the practice, the coaches come over and they said, so what do you think? I said, well, coach, I can see why y'all not winning the sprints. I'm like, your guys sitting over here with laptops at practice. And so he says, you know what? He's like, you're right. He says, there's a difference. He says, but those guys that you see that are in the sprint crew, they're all academic All-Americans. Mm-hmm. I said, but coach, there's a problem. Academic All-Americans, they're not lining up against the guys in the track meet. They're academic All-Americans. That don't mean nothing when the gun go off. You done got a guy that was JUCO champ. You got a guy that barely made it to college, and he's running you into the ground. So you got to make a decision what you want. Do you want that real athlete, or do you want the guy that's Mr. Brainiac? There's a difference. And when I was in college, you know, we had a lot of guys that came in from JUCO that were JUCO champions, and they were from out of the country. They're from Jamaica and whatnot. And now it's not like that anymore. It's just
actually a lot of those Jamaicans, Bahamians, they're really pretty smart students. They just never took the ACT to get into the U.S. schools to begin with.
Oh yeah, I had a lot of smart teammates that were out of the country. I mean, academically they were really smart, you know. But it's just the time frame is just different, man. At all levels, it's different. You can even see it with the pros. I've been sitting here watching like old tapes from '93 and world championships and you know, the trials, Olympic trials and stuff, and just looking at the races and stuff versus what goes on now. The fields were full back then. You weren't really certain who was going to win. You knew there was one person that could win it. Whereas now you can almost look and be like, yep, he's going to win it. Yep, they're going to win it. You know,
right.
It wasn't like that back in the day.
So it was right as we come to a close. So I want to do a quick rapid fire to see what's on your mind. Now, for this first question, I'm gonna ask you real quick.
One question.
Give me
per person. Let's get a.
Say what?
All
right, fine.
Per person.
Fine. Not including people you've coached or you related to from your all time. Who are the greatest two track athletes in Illinois history? Give me two.
That I haven't coached.
That you have not coached and you're not related to. Regardless of era, who's the greatest two track athletes of all time?
Male or female?
You can do two males, two females, however you want to do
male,
it. Just
female?
Yeah, that's you want to do it.
Exclude yourself.
I'm going to say, no, don't include myself.
You can't.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I'm not going to include myself. I'm going to take me out. I'm going to say for the males, man, that's a tough one because it's some tight distance runners, man.
This is your opinion. You ain't gonna make the distance community, man.
I'm just saying, man. You eliminating a lot of. If I go straight,
we ain't finna go event by event.
I'm gonna say, for the females, I'm gonna say, Shamir. I'm gonna say Shamir. And I'm gonna say, man, a 2 and a 2A. I'm gonna say Jackie Joyner and Alexandria Anderson.
Okay. I was like, you better.
We'll take that.
Like,
we'll take that.
For the fellas, oh my goodness. For the fellas, oh wow. I'm gonna say Jamari. Man, dude, we got a lot of them.
Who cares if you hurt feelings? Come on, let it loose.
No, man, I'm thinking back to like the Mike Conleys and all of those types. Man, give me. I'll roll with Mike Conley, but I'm sure after I get off this, I'm gonna end up y'all be like, change it.
2 jumpers. We like it.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Tony, you go. I'm still.
That's a tough one, man.
All right, for the
Jeff,
girls.
how you gonna suggest something that you're not ready with a question?
All right, for the dames, I'm gonna go with
This was a question
Alex.
for you, Tony.
Oh,
Oh,
we
it's
just
not?
answering
Oh, my
the same
bad.
question.
This was just
Oh.
no. This was just for B side.
Oh,
Yeah.
my bad.
Get out of here. Get out of here. Go ahead.
All right, no, I'm gonna do this. Now that's cool. Rapid fire. My question for you, B side. Post Corona, how can we get everything back on track?
Prayer.
Okay. Okay.
Man, we're in trouble.
Yikes.
I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people out here that's gonna see this and they don't really believe in God or whatever, but I'm just you asked me, you didn't ask them. So I'm telling you right now, I don't know if he's trying to get people's attention. I don't know if this was done to make us slow down and appreciate things that, we've taken for granted. I'm talking from family to just getting in the car, going places.
Going to the grocery store, lines now.
I mean, just simple stuff like pumping gas. I'll pump gas and I'll be like, oh snap, I touched it. You don't. That's stuff that you didn't think about. I mean, you can't even get your hair cut. It's
Now,
simple stuff. Yeah, I'm struggling, boss.
it's like no.
I'm sitting up here looking like Grady, man. I mean, this is rough, man. This is rough on a brother. I mean, we right now, man, we all need to come together at all levels for this to get back. I mean, the economy is in trouble. The schools, I mean, everything, we just need to come together as a country. And that's a tough thing to do in this country. It's rough. But I think the first thing we need to do is start off with prayer. Whoever you believe in, I don't care who that is, we need to do that. That's the first step. Because right now, you know what, I'm going to stay off the political stuff, but I'm just saying right now, our country, we
don't have another 2 hours. No problem.
Yeah, we in shambles. So I'll just leave it at that.
All right,
Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah.
Last question. What's the best track advice anybody has ever given you throughout your whole career?
Boy, that's a good one.
I just want to hear you quote some good stuff.
Well, I got some quotes.
We ain't trying to hear from you right now.
I found 2 favorite quotes that B-Side said.
Hey, we trying to hear him live.
Go ahead.
Let me see. The best advice that I was given was probably my father. Where he just said, son, they're not going to hand you anything. You're going to have to take it. He's like, and son, you need to realize that everybody that comes here to the track meets, they didn't come, they're not for you. There's some people that paid good money to say that they were here when you lost. He's like, your job is to keep your foot on everybody's throat and make sure that they've wasted their money. That's
I like that. I like that.
That's probably the best advice that I've been given, and it was from my father.
I like that.
He got some of those Shannon Sharp quotes. Shannon Sharp. Yeah. My 2 before we end, I read these in the article. You said, I forget what the context was, but it was funny. You said you want to beat somebody to the point where they quit until where your coach gets fired afterwards.
Yeah, I still say that.
Yeah.
I used to say,
right.
I want you to beat them to the point where the coach gets fired and they quit the sport.
Right.
If you didn't beat them like that, then we got work to do.
Right. And finally, the last one is don't come for the bad guy because you'll lose to the bad guy athletes. I like that one.
You will lose. You will lose.
Right.
You can either roll with me or get rolled over. That's your choice, and because I know I put in a lot of hours beyond, just getting ready for the meet.
What you drinking on, Tony?
And that's where my attitude comes from. I know I put in the work and people, they'll see it with my athletes. I mean, I put in more work. So I feel like I deserve that because I put in that type of work.
Right, most definitely. But we definitely appreciate your time. You giving us a lot of it.
Man,
I see
this
Tony
is cool,
and Jeff
man.
getting
Why are
they
you
drinks.
back on again?
Yeah, they tap water getting low. They want to refill and go to bed. So we definitely appreciate you stepping between the lanes and not get hit by a car, I guess.
Yeah. You didn't get hit by a bus.
Right.
This was cool, man. Y'all don't understand, man. I've been waiting on this. I was at work counting down the hours. I'm like, I get to hook up with my boys because, as I put in the last blog, we didn't get to hook up like we do at Top Time.
I know.
And that bothered me. That hurt because that's one of the only times that we really get to just act a fool. And so when I saw this, I'm like, man, we're going to be on here for about 3-4 hours.
You will. I won't. I'm about to cut it right now. I appreciate y'all. Jeff, Tony, we'll catch y'all at the next show. B-side, we'll catch you down the line, hopefully in the summer.
All right, boss.
Peace
All
out.
right, man. Peace, bro.
All right, fam. Y'all be
All right, man.
safe.
Love, man.
Yup.